There we go. Now we're live. So we were
make
in
your
Milan.
face. Make your face.
Yeah, I was too busy making the face that I didn't push the right button. Anyways, when we were in Milan and we were there with Matteo Doni and we were at the Duomo in Milan, he was like, when you start looking around, you'll notice this is a place where influencers from all over the world come. And they, it's like the women have their boyfriends who are on camera duty, so when you really look around, you'll see them. And, sure enough, you look around and there's like all these girls getting these like angular shots with the Duomo in the background and the boyfriend or the husband on the ground or whatever. And so I ended up taking a bunch of influencer shots in front of the Duomo, and that was the face.
Yeah, that's funny.
The duck face.
Somebody sent me some video of influencers, like 4 or 5 of them, put their camera in New York, like on a thing by the wall on the sidewalk, and then like we're jumping towards the camera, and then some dude with a backpack and his headphones was just like, "Can you not block the sidewalk?" And like it was just like it was very well representing of the common New Yorker's response to all the content creators that have descended on our city. So
no kidding. What's up, everybody? Hello, Android faithful. Sup, Willie? Sup, Mike? Good to see you. Clinton, as always. I hope you're feeling good, Clinton.
So he was out for a walk earlier, which is nice to hear.
Blind Android is ready.
So he sent along a email that we're not doing emails this week, so we're gonna do it next week. But I did get it. So, like we said last week, this week's a little different, but we wanted to be here and make sure that we got it done. We keep to our schedule, so which is nice. You see, it's just me and Jason. Mishaal is traveling. Wynn is traveling or working, I think. So
it is just the two of us right now, but it is not just the two of us today.
Nope, it's everybody.
If that makes sense, because we've got this show is in 3 different movements, which is interesting. It doesn't normally work out that way.
This is a different way to do the show. So I think hopefully you all gonna like it. That said, it's a long one too. So should we be long. So should we just get right into it, or
let's do it. So here, for those of you who are here, here's an idea. Just to give you a general sense, we've got the first, I'd say, half of the show recorded from Droidcon. That's what we're going to play first. Then it's coming back out to us, and then it's going in different directions from there. So you'll be.
I announced it on social earlier. We've got a great interview with someone from Google to talk about Google TV. So not burying the lead there. If you follow us on social,
right, I wasn't sure.
You saw. I promoted
Shalini Govil-Pai.
So we're gonna go deep on Google TV later in the show. So if you're curious about all those changes and stuff like that, we will be discussing that, and I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Yeah. Quick reminder to everyone, while you're watching all the fun stuff, make sure you help us pick a title for the episode. Go to af.showbot.tv. Those of you on Twitch, there's some magic coding stuff that you can do on Twitch to put titles directly into it. I'm sure Willie will tell in the chat. W. Scott is1 will tell everyone how to do that, which I appreciate. Cousin of Jaw probably does well. Nightbot will do it as well too. So we love your title. So just because this week's a little different doesn't mean we're not going to do that. So
that's right. We even figured out a way to do the patron pick on a week that I thought we were just like postponing the patron pick.
I pulled it off. The stories were too good. Not to do
pulled off from postponing the patron pick.
The stories were too good to give up. So
yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So that said, we're gonna roll the show. All right. So
all right, cool.
I'm gonna remove you, Jason, because I got
goodbye.
all the stuff. So goodbye. And I'm going to turn myself off. I'll see everyone on the other side.
This episode and all of our Droidcon NYC coverage is brought to you by Verimatrix Cybersecurity, protecting the applications that drive the digital economy. Learn more at verimatrixcybersecurity.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Android Faithful, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the world of Android. This time coming to you from the basement in New York. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Ron Richards.
I'm Huyen Tue Dao.
And I'm Mishaal Rahman.
Yeah.
And we are here at Droidcon New York City. Very excited. We have our own dedicated podcasting room, right? So, yes,
A banner.
Yes.
Yeah.
We finally pulled the trigger and got a banner made. So
This is how we know we've made it.
Look,
We have a
Michael, banner.
And you can't see the rest of the room, but this is actually like where brides go to get prepared. It's a very interesting.
It's a vibe.
The venue for Droidcon is at a lovely, lovely wedding venue in Astoria, Queens. So those of you local New Yorkers know exactly what I'm talking about when I say a wedding venue in Astoria. But it's been lovely. It's been great. It's been a great time to be amongst so many people who live and breathe Android, walking around not everybody, but the majority of people are in some sort of Android T-shirt, and lots of nerds, lots of our people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We say that lovingly because we are there. We are them too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and we've basically been keeping ourselves very busy. Yesterday, all day, we spoke with a ton of developers from Square, Capital One, Qualcomm, Uber, Netflix, and more. We've got a bunch of interviews kind of recorded and in the can on topics like accessibility, artificial intelligence, security, just general Android development, the conference itself.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of stuff kind of planned to release kind of in a slow trickle over the course of the next month in the podcast. And then outside of that, full interviews we plan to release through the Patreon for our patrons. So patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. And to give you a sense of what's going on at an event like Droidcon.
And we're very honored because at this table is a featured Droidcon speaker.
Oh,
so right.
No, I'm very tired because I woke up. I did my talk at the 10:20, and then after that was just interviews. But yeah.
You were feeling it by the end of yesterday.
I had my head on the table at the end. Just you okay?
Well, you did great. It was awesome to see you up there up on state, quote unquote, state on the podium, and dropping knowledge on Compose.
And did the bold move of live, actually doing things live.
It didn't always work out. My husband Josh had to sit in the front, and a couple times they can't see the phone there, they can't see the mirroring. But no, it was great, and it's kind of fun because I always tell everybody at the end when I plug, just I do technical talks. Well, actually, if anything else, these gentlemen know that I'm being for real, and it's actually it was funny because it's my 10th year. No, that's not true. I've attended almost every Droidcon New York, and the first one was 2014, so 10 years ago, and I know that. Actually, during the keynote, I got called out for being someone who's been here, not necessarily consistently, but for 10 years. So it was fun. Yeah. I had to do it. I had OG. Very proudly OG, Droidcon New York OG.
Well, yeah, because this Droidcon marked 10 years of Droidcon, and one of those interviews we did was with Kevin Galligan, who was there, one of the guys at the beginning back in 2014. And it's just great. I remember I went to Droidcon, I think 2016 or 17.
Oh, you did?
Or so. Yeah, I remember being there. We were probably there at the same place, and just didn't know each other. Yeah. But it's just great to see it alive and well, and just so so much excitement around the topic.
And there's still a lot of people that were there then that they're today, people that we talked to, for example, people like Jesse Wilson, for example. He was there first. I would never have said hi to him because I was very shy. I think even back then, friends of the show, I know probably Nick Butcher. I don't know if Nick Butcher was there 14th. I think he was. And then I don't know if William Spradlin was there, but just all kinds of friends of the show, and new friends and old friends of the show have been around this conference for years. So
it's definitely a very tight knit smallish but very close community of developers.
Yes, a lot of people that we met at Droidcon ended up going to our wedding. So
that's so nice. Actually, a lot of little romance stories at Droidcon. You
had your own special keynote.
We did do a keynote for our wedding, and we did threaten to live code. I did bring up Android Studio.
Well, join, right? You got to do there's a join, right?
Exactly. Well, what we had done was try to pretend to do that. What was that scene from NCIS where they're both typing on the keyboard at the same time?
Yeah.
So the thing is, I'm sure all of our dev friends would have gotten the joke, and all of our family would have been like, wow, is that how they do that?
I mean, it's funny because at my wedding, we did not have any coding, but I did set out to make sure there was little Easter eggs throughout the entire wedding reception that maybe 2 or 3 people at most would get. So at any point throughout the day and night, I would see those people laughing because they knew what it had done. So it was a subtle, inside joke if you get it, but not everyone needed to, participate in it.
Just a little bit of a little bubble of joy for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Different people throughout the day were doing their their own APK teardowns.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I do want to thank real quick Greg Fossen, Katrina, Elisa. We've had a lot of people who enabled us to come out and do this.
From Droidcon. Those folks from Droidcon.
For Droidcon, yeah, the coverage. Not to mention our sponsor, Verimatrix Cybersecurity. They really helped make this possible. So thank you to them as well.
Josh at Verimatrix, awesome, very cool. So we'll talk a little more about them in a little bit. But
Yes,
yeah.
indeed.
So-
But before we do that, we're going to do kind of a normal show. And then we actually have something really special for near the end of the episode, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, so stay tuned. But let's start with the news, why don't we? If we had any sort of bumper or anything like that, it would play now. But first up on the news, we do love our distribution sales numbers and things like that. But actually, a big moment in the global Android footprint, because as of August 2024, Xiaomi surpassed Apple as the world's number 2 smartphone brand in August, which is the first time that's happened since August 2021. So for the world's smartphone brands rankings, it's Samsung, Xiaomi, and then Apple. This is a combination of the fact that Xiaomi surged with about 22% year-over-year growth in terms of sales. They've really kind of differentiated themselves in the Asian market as having like affordable, low-cost devices, and that really what's helped them. But then, of course, and not to like take away from Xiaomi's accomplishment, but like Apple always has a seasonal decline in August. That's why the last time this happened was August 2021, because it was right before the new iPhones got rolled out in September and that sort of thing. So we'll see how long Xiaomi can hold on to it. But
But Ron, keep in mind that they accomplished this despite the fact that they don't sell any phones in the U.S.
Exactly.
If I were to walk into like that room right now full of Android developers and hold up a Xiaomi phone, and I ask them, how many of you have ever used or at least like daily driven a Xiaomi phone? I bet maybe one person max would hold up their hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really impressive.
Yeah, totally. And also, and if you look at the graph, the Apple's decline is steeper than it has been in previous ones. Like we've been talking a lot about Apple's decline through this year. I'm sure it's going to pick back up in the rest of it, but like all of those factors all go into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting stuff over at Xiaomi. And then of course, we talked last week about how Circle to Search exclusivity is coming to, seemingly coming to an end, but Xiaomi's getting in on the game as word that the Xiaomi 14T series will feature Circle to Search moving forward.
Circle to Search is so played at this point. I mean, now that everybody's getting access to it, it's so boring.
It's just ubiquitous now. I mean, and we talked about it a little bit last week, but it's like it was one of those things that made Pixel kind of unique because we had it for when it was earlier this year at the Samsung and Pixel.
Yeah.
It's about a little less than a year of that exclusivity, but Google did say that their goal was to have it on 200 million devices by the end of this year, and times are running out. So
and if that wasn't, it was, but if it wasn't their goal, they definitely would have changed their tune, because I have a feeling that it's really increased, to a certain degree, people's interaction with their search product on mobile. Like it really is a great.
And it's interesting though, because we joke or we say how Google is a search company, right? But like search is in decline or in disarray, at least in terms of like less people are using the web, less people are more people on their phones, less people are on desktops. Google's been making tweaks to the algorithm, not to mention any of the stuff going on with the DOJ and like all the kind of antitrust kind of things. But so Circle Search is really like the biggest search innovation that we've seen from the mobile side to make it that much easier to get to all of Google's great information that they have, on their servers and things like that for search results. And so I don't know, it's interesting. I would like to see not only the device penetration, but then the usage statistics. Like how many people that actually have it of those 200 million devices are using it on a regular basis to find things that they're searching for.
I'll tell you.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I'll tell you that I primarily use it for like selecting text and images, because a lot of devices, like I recently switched over to a Xiaomi 13T Pro, and it doesn't have Circle to Search obviously yet, because we're talking about one of their future devices getting it. But that device, for me at least, if I wanted to search something on the screen, I had to bring up Gemini and then tap the search this screen button, or I have to take a screenshot and then open that in Google Lens. It's kind of a hassle.
Yeah.
But I have found myself a couple of times at least where like I see something on screen and like I want to search it, but then I'm like, oh, I gotta copy and then search. Whereas like with Circle to Search, it's just like one tap and then just tap the word or image that I want to search, and just taking that one step away from searching something up, like just reducing that friction even by a little bit. I do think will actually encourage more people to actually search something up instead of just saying, oh, well, it's not that important. I don't really care about it. But now when I see something I don't recognize, it's like, it's just one tap away.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing. I think that the one thing that is really special about Circle to Search, it is a killer feature. And it is, because we talk about right now Gemini and how it feels more frictiony than anything else, is they're kind of like trying to integrate all the things, kind of like sunset or put assistant out to pasture, and then, well, they already have, but then bring everything to Gemini. But it just feels like not very planned out. It doesn't feel very frictionless. And at the same time, they have this feature that's killer that everybody wants. It's just kind of weird. But yeah, I do the same thing. I don't really use anything else other than Circle Search anymore for like translation, image search, everything. It's amazing.
And I will try to, you reminded me of something I want to share, but as far as Circle Search goes and Google Lens, I can't tell you the number of times I'm having to find some toy or something that my kids want, and I don't know where it is. And I've been using, Google, like their friend has it, so I'm like, let me take a picture of it, and then using Google to find a store that sells it or whatever, find some detail. That's been a lifesaver for me, and especially like with Circle to Search, where you see, like we look on Amazon and there are pictures of a kids playing with stuff. I'm like, I want that. And like, well, what is that? Who makes that? I don't, so now you can do that, whereas historically I was like trying to describe the toy and try to find it. It's cut out those steps. Yep. But your point about scanning text, this isn't Circle to Search or Lens, but I was at my in-laws and I switched over to the Pixel 9 for my daily driver, for those of you keeping score at home. And I had to get on the Wi-Fi, and the scan Wi-Fi password, oh my God, that's amazing. So I didn't have the Wi-Fi password, so I go back to their router, and it's a Verizon Fios router with the tiny text that says the password on the label in the back, and it says scan for Wi-Fi password. And I thought it was going to scan the QR code that was on the label, but no, it took a picture of the entire label and then used OCR to isolate the password and then copy that text and put it into the text field, and then I was on the Wi-Fi. It was amazing. Nice. It was so cool. So
that's cool.
And the really cool thing about Circle to Search is like, at first it was just for searching stuff, but like Google has quickly evolved it. Like they realized how popular it's become.
Yeah.
And they crammed translation into it. They added audio search into it. And I have a feeling, or at least I hope, that they're going to actually add like a way to switch to camera. Basically like integrate Google Lens into it. Yep. So instead of having to open Google Lens separately when you want to start something you're seeing,
live search.
like you just open Circle to Search. Oh, instead of searching your screen, you just click the camera button and you switch to searching through your camera with Google Lens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you're listening, that's a feature request, please. Yeah. Please give us live search.
All right. Well, they gave us PassKeys, though.
They did. So speaking of less friction, Google is bringing PassKeys to more places more easier. At least that's what the hope is. So now if you have Google Password Manager, so before this new update and announcement, you still had to, when you wanted to use your passkeys on a non-Android device, you would still need your Android device. So say you wanted to log into something where you already have a passkey on, like, say, Chrome, you would still have to use your Android device and scan a QR code to be able to sync or be able to use that passkey on Chrome, for example. Well, no more. You can now save passkeys via Chrome and on Android, Windows, Android, Windows, Mac OS, and iOS is coming, I believe. Is that right? And I should have probably opened up the page. But yeah, not just that, but also to kind of reduce that friction as well. They're introducing the idea of a Google Password Manager PIN. So to kind of like alleviate the kind of process of syncing from your desktop devices, or syncing passkeys rather to your desktop devices, instead of having to, again, scan a QR code with your Android device to kind of sync those passkeys, you can actually enter a PIN instead. So you're on your Chrome, you're on Chrome on your Mac or your Windows device, and you want to save a passkey to a website you haven't logged into before. So again, rather than having to, again, pick up your device, you can now just enter in a PIN, and that passkey will be saved to that device, your desktop or whatever, and be able to be synced across devices. So again, lessening that friction. Passkeys, I don't know, it's still... Are y'all using passkeys as much?
It's still a question.
The problem with passkeys that I have right now is that the only time I'm presented with the option to set up a passkey is when I'm in the middle of a task and it's an interruption.
Yeah.
I'll go to a website and I need to do something, and it'll be like, "Why don't you set up your passkey?" And I'm like, "No, I just need to do something now. I'll get to this later." And then I never get that push thing. And unless I sit down and be like, "I'm going to switch to passkeys and go to everything."
It is my passkey.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not going to happen, and it's always an inconvenient time. I get presented with the passkey offer, and I immediately just say cancel.
Yeah. I definitely think passkeys is one of those things that's really not really convenient right now for people who are heavily into password managers and like two-factor authentication applications, like me or anyone else who uses a lot of those apps, and you store everything already, it's not very convenient or even much better than
totally agree.
What you're looking for right now. But PassKeys, I think this is one of the things I was waiting for. Like, for people who use a lot of different devices, like all of us do, switching to PassKeys would be inconvenient because, it was tied to one device. Your PassKeys are stored on that device. You'd have different PassKeys on a different device. For most average users, you only use maybe one device as their primary computer. That's fine for them.
Right.
But for us, we kind of need these advancements to come along and for them to be as convenient as passwords, but significantly more secure before we fully transition over. And as you mentioned, transitioning is kind of a pain because it's only happening after you've already signed up and made an account.
And even for the technically proficient person, which I consider myself pretty much in that camp, it's still confusing.
Yes.
It's still confusing exactly what's going on when it presents you with the option to do that. It's another layer outside of the paradigm that we already understand completely and
have solutions for.
And everything. And so it's like, well, what am I doing now? Like, I realize I'm setting a passkey, but what does this actually mean for me in the future? What do I do the next time I log in? There's still that weirdness around it.
I will have to say I have a good thing to say and a bad thing to say. So I actually have now. So I got past that initial entropy with starting to use passkeys, and I actually enjoy them. But I will say that we're using 1Password, and 1Password could already sync across devices very well. So I read this and I'm like, 1Password, we've already kind of done that. But on the flip side, I just got my Pixel Fold. And the process of getting 1Password to be my password manager on this phone was awful. It was. I felt incredibly dumb. And the problem is, and this, I don't know if this is actually a thing, but it made me. It felt like it made me turn on Google Fill first, and then from Google Fill I switched over to 1Password. So I actually am generally getting really positive on passkeys, but that kind of friction where I'm transitioning to a new phone, and it still feels like Google is gatekeeping-y, being very gatekeeping with passkeys on Android devices is annoying. And I'm not the only one who felt this. Like, I think my husband Josh was setting up his Pixel 9 Pro, and he was complaining about it. And I was sitting back here like, I think he did something wrong. I don't know. Like, I think it's a him problem. He's behind the camera, by the way. I didn't say that out loud. I was just like, I think
he's here in the audience, by the way. So
he was kind of negative about it. And then I was like, no, baby, I think you can do that. And so he turned on Google Fill, turned Google Fill on, set up 1Password, turned Google Fill off, and he was fine. And I was like, I'm sure I won't have the same problems. I set up the Pixel Fold. I was like, oh no, I'm eating so much crow right now.
I love when that happens.
I
still think there's a major education phase that has to happen to PassKeys that is not happening. And I don't know, and where in the user journey the right point for it to happen, I just don't know, because, I get hit with it on Amazon, I get hit with it, like on GitHub, it's like, no, I just
we are so deep down the password rabbit hole at this point. Our habits and our rituals around how we use technology and everything are so completely intertwined with the password paradigm that it's really hard to undo that. Even if you're coming up with something that's easier, it's still, that education piece needs to be crystal clear, and it just feels like it's still not.
And it's also, we're down that rabbit hole, and that rabbit hole is completely broken. Because even we go back, I often talk about my sister, English teacher, not one of us. She called me the other day, and she's like, I'm tired of OTP. Why do I have to OTP everything? And I was like, well, it's security. It helps. And she's like, right. She's like, but she's talking about the frequency of getting hit with having to do the verification and all these sort of. She's like, I'm like in my house with my laptop and my phone. I'm not leaving. I'm the only person who's using this. Like, why do I have to? It's like we've gotten, because of all the malicious behavior and things like that. We've over-indexed on security, which some, I'm sure Steve Gibson or other people say you can never over-index on security, but it is now getting in the way of productivity and getting in the way of of that joy of using your devices. And Passkeys is just another bullet point in that story, I think.
Right.
So, All right. Well, on that sunny note.
All right, Mishaal.
Yeah, next up, we have some confirmation of when the next version of Oppo's ColorOS software will be announced. So Oppo announced over on its Weibo, this China's microblogging social media platform, that they will be announcing ColorOS 15 on October 17th at the Oppo Developer Conference. So that's when we'll find out what features Oppo is working on for their Android 15 based software that we'll see coming to Oppo devices as well as OnePlus devices, although it'll be branded as Oxygen OS in global markets, as well as Realme devices. So, there's a lot of devices that run ColorOS, even if it's not called ColorOS in your particular region. But of course, the version that Oppo will be announcing on October 17th will be the China market version of their operating system. So there'll be a couple of features there that you probably won't see in the global version, or various features that'll be rebranded or localized differently in various regions. So we'll have to wait and see what they announce, what'll be available in the China market only, and what'll be available globally. In addition, speaking of the global version of the software, we're getting some leaks about what changes potentially could be coming in Oxygen OS 15, which is the version of the Android 15 operating system that we'll see on OnePlus devices in the future. According to tech publication SmartPrix, who claims to have gotten early access to potentially like a closed beta software of Oxygen OS 15, they claim that there's going to be some iOS inspired changes, which
I feel like we
seems
hear
to be
this
a
all the
common.
time. We always hear this.
Actually, it seems to be a really common trend now. It seems like everyone is trying to copy the iOS style control center. But instead of having, a unified notification and quick settings panel, now we're getting a split quick settings and notification panel. It seems like Oxygen OS may also go down that route. So, according to SmartPrix, the way they describe the Oxygen OS 15 control panel is saying, quote, if HyperOS and iOS had a baby. So HyperOS is Xiaomi's operating system. iOS, you know what iOS is.
Yeah.
They don't share any screenshots, but they do say that on the top you'll find 2 toggles, like on HyperOS. Just below that you'll find a 2x2 media player, a 1x2 brightness slider, and a 1x2 volume panel. Then you have circular 1x1 toggles for other quick settings. Actually, I'm reading this and I'm like, this is exactly like what I have in HyperOS right now. So I'm guessing that's exactly like it is on like iOS too. Mm-hmm. And then you also have an iOS-like volume panel, apparently, where it starts out as a giant slider, but then as you're actually adjusting the volume, it shrinks. And then the camera app, apparently, in Oxygen OS 15 will have live photo support. And then you'll have more lock screen customization options, including a depth effect to apply to photos, which, is something that iOS recently added and it's been widely praised. And then, of course, dynamic island-like notifications, apparently.
Dynamic
Island
never goes away.
It did for a little bit. I feel like we talked a lot, and then it kind of went away, and then
it's been normalized.
So what is how similar? Because Oppo and OnePlus are very related, funded, like something. So what is the similarities or differences between ColorOS and Oxygen OS?
There's almost no difference now.
Yeah, right. That's what I thought.
Name and
it's just the branding now, and in terms of some. Actually, there's basically no difference,
right?
Except for branding.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the people who are very, very like OG on Oxygen OS, they're the ones that complain the loudest about the ColorOS becoming more like iOS.
Yeah, it used to be very different.
It was so
but
amazing.
honestly, I feel like yearly, every time we hear about OnePlus's OS, it's getting more iOS every time.
Yeah.
So
it's just.
Although it seems it's not just. It seems like it's a broader trend now.
Yeah,
Samsung,
Google,
even.
Yeah. I don't know. My bias is making a face.
I don't want.
I don't know. I use the iOS. I don't like it. I
don't either. Yeah. I don't want split notification panes. Sorry, over justification. I don't want it, y'all. I'm getting older. I can only keep so many things in my head. I'm sorry.
True that. I feel that way.
All right.
Well, we are going to take a very quick break and thank the sponsor of this episode, and that is Verimatrix Cybersecurity. They really made it possible for us to come out here to Droidcon New York and do what we're doing here. And for all of the wonderful conversations that we've had here at Droidcon NYC, Verimatrix Cybersecurity made it happen. The connected world is filled with applications that help us in our daily lives. When you think about how those apps are protected, well, you should thank Verimatrix. Verimatrix protects the applications that drive the digital economy. Its XTD solution uses layered security techniques and AI and machine learning to shield apps. That prevents cyber attacks. Verimatrix cybersecurity is compatible with multiple platforms and development frameworks. XTD provides real-time threat detection and response capabilities, so you're monitoring threats from unmanaged consumer devices beyond the typical IT control mechanisms. If you're a developer or you're a product manager or any other role working in the digital space, you can help protect your work and your users by checking out Verimatrix Cybersecurity. And you can find everything you need to know about Verimatrix by going to verimatrixcybersecurity.com. Go there, check it out. We thank Verimatrix for supporting Android Faithful and Droidcon NYC. Verimatrix, protecting the applications that drive the digital economy. Verimatrixcybersecurity.com. Thank you, Verimatrix. Okay. And with that, let's talk some hardware. We've got some hardware news. Samsung likely to launch the Galaxy A16 5G. It's going to be coming to India by the end of this month, according to sources to the techoutlook.com. Has a vertical triple camera setup. Has a premium, it said, glass-stick back panel. So I was like, is it plastic that looks like glass? But no, the article says it's glass. So I don't know what's the difference between glass and glass stick. But I thought glass-stick was plastic that looks
like glass.
Like pleather, you mean? Or?
Yeah, kind of like pleather, but for glass, yeah. Has a mirror-like effect there, 6.7-inch Full HD plus screen, 90 hertz refresh. Depending on where you're getting it, you'll either get the MediaTek Dimensity 6300, that would be in India, or the Exynos 1330 chip inside. And then, the standard kind of like 4 gigs, 128 gigs of storage, or 8 gigs memory, 256 gigs of storage, a few different color options, 6 OS updates, 6-year security, kind of middle of the road phone, which is what the A16, that Galaxy A series of devices is really meant to be.
Jason, I think you're bearing the lead a little there.
Go for it.
A Galaxy A series phone with 6 years of updates?
That's true. But it's not 7 years.
Have we seen any other budget
I'm
phone?
not impressed.
Even the security updates are mid-range.
But that is
this is a budget phone with 6 years of updates.
That is a really great thing to emphasize. And even more so, I have my big question mark on that, because even with the top tier phones that are promising 7 years, I'm super curious to see how well they hold up 7 years down the line with top tier current specs. If we're talking a level down and going 6 years, 6 years is still a long time. Yeah. How is that phone going to be performing in 6 years? I don't know that I'm like super optimistic, but hey, maybe we're at that point to where it can really truly do the distance.
And it gives the buyer a sense of, oh, cool, I'm covered if I want to go that long. And this could just be social engineering, where we're giving them the sense that they're going to be covered, but we know they're going to get a new phone in 2 to 3 years.
Well,
whatever.
to be fair, this is an A series phone,
sure.
So people who are buying this phone might not be able to, afford upgrading their phone even 3 years or 4 years.
Yeah.
So.
That's more assurance that if they, the money that they're having a hard time spending on a phone to begin with, potentially
they're making a good purchase.
They're making a good long-term investment. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, good on you, Samsung.
Yeah.
All right.
Good on you.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, on phones that you should only buy if you can definitely afford them, the Xiaomi MIX Flip, a clamshell foldable phone that we talked about a couple of months ago, is getting a global launch. Finally confirmed by Lei Jun, the CEO of Xiaomi, on X. He mentioned that it's coming to global markets sometime later this month. We don't know when exactly or where exactly it's going to be launching, but he did confirm that a global launch is coming. And I'm going to say global in air quotes because, as always, global means excluding the U.S. Global does not include the U.S. Anytime you see that word mentioned when it comes to smartphones, it means excluding U.S. usually.
I keep waiting for the day, though. I keep waiting for the day where somehow they figure out or they decide different, or I'm not sure what it is that holds them back.
I don't know if it's them or us.
Yeah, exactly. There's something.
But if you, as a reminder, if you don't know what the Xiaomi MIX Flip is, I actually have an extensive article covering the launch on AndroidFaithful.com. It's a clamshell folding phone, so like the Galaxy Z Flip. It has a massive 4-inch cover screen, which is kind of like partitioned into like a widget area and an apps area. And you can launch, there's like 200 apps are supported on the cover screen. So you can launch like Google Maps, Chrome, YouTube Music, and stuff like that on the cover screen and use it while the phone is folded. And then you can unfold it and it has like a 6.8-inch, something like that, inner display, LTPO, AMOLED, all hot top tier specs, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, some really decent cameras, runs Xiaomi's HyperOS software based on Android 14. And, I have the Chinese version of the phone. And one thing that I dislike about using the Chinese version of the phone is that I don't get features like Quick Share, which is integrated into Google's Play Services app, which they have a different version of that app for China that doesn't have Quick Share. And also, you don't get Android Auto on the Chinese version of the software because they don't bundle the Android Auto app in the Chinese version of their software. So when you get the global release, you'll have all these features and more because one thing I noticed when I'm using the Chinese version of HyperOS is that there's a lot of China-specific software features that I'm like, I don't think I'm going to use any of this because it requires integrating with like some China-only service. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. I'm never going to use this. Or like a lot of the AI models are quite clearly not trained on people with my skin tone or at all. So I'm hoping, obviously like the global version of the software will be obviously more, I guess, applicable to people who live outside of China, which is the expectation,
And we'll link to the Android Faithful article, AndroidFaithful.com article in the show notes. So if you want to refresh on the device, you can go link to that. So, yeah, cool. And global launches seem to be the trend, right?
Well, speaking of global launches, speaking of devices that aren't exactly affordable
at all,
and devices that are definitely not coming to the U.S. Especially this one.
Especially this one. Well, it makes us sad because the HUAWEI Mate XT, that triple foldable that we talked about, that makes us very sad that we won't get our hands on it, is getting a not U.S. but global release. But you might have to wait until Q1 2025
and win the lotto.
With a lotto.
Yeah, because it's going to be not cheap at all.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I thought you meant that the rest of us will have to participate in a lotto. Like there was like a...
like to get it? No, you'll just need to win the lottery to afford it.
Yeah, we went to a vendor out here where they actually were selling... Like, they actually had these like really cute plushy swags, and they had a little wheel that we had to all spin. Yep. And I was thinking like that you'd have to spin a wheel. But yeah, no, the HUAWEI Mate XT is, and we've discussed it before, is an expensive phone. The baseline model that has 16 gigabytes of RAM and only 256 gigabytes of storage is already 20,000 yuan, which is approximately 2,835 USD.
It's $3,000, the cost of a laptop.
Yeah, and it will be more expensive because generally speaking, the global releases are more expensive than the domestic releases in China. So, I mean, if you're in a global market where you can actually get your hands on this phone, probably drop in at least $3,000 USD.
But just think of the social currency when you pull that out of your pocket.
Say,
everyone goes, "You're so cool."
The number of people not at this table that sent me the link to be like, "Have you seen this foldable phone?" Like number one, yes, I've seen it. You know me. And number two, like people. Like this news of this got out there. Like it didn't go mainstream, but it was just short of mainstream where enough people saw it and it came up in their feeds and like, what is this? Like, I love it.
I think Apple to this point has not done a foldable. That's because they're not doing the dual screen foldable. They're just going right for the triple screen.
Right.
That's that's my bet.
That's your pick. All right, right.
No.
Let's go down in Android Faithful predictions. Jason thinks Apple launches a trifold.
Trifold.
Oh, but if that came true, I'd be a genius.
Yeah. I just can't wait for Apple to pretend like they invented foldables. That'll be fun.
But I mean, this is the thing, though, and I think that's why it is picking up because just the innovation in the foldable space continues. And I just wanted to quote this because I'm still a little sore at Samsung for not quite innovating a little bit more with the current generation of Z Folds and Z Flips. This is mentioned that the HUAWEI Mate XT, when it's folded, actually folds down to 12.8 millimeters. That's only 0.7 millimeters thicker than the Z Fold 6.
So
I mean,
the same.
So basically the same, but you have 3 screens. You have a 10.2 inch, a 7.9 inch, and a 6.4 inch phone. And I mean, if anything else, even though this is expensive as heck, and even I feel like even if it was available here, we'd have to split one between the 4 of us. Like we could all pitch in and get an Android faithful foldable, and it would be the Mate XT, and then
just pass it around.
That would be the company budget or the podcast budget for it. But
unfolded, it would be so big that we'd all 4 have to hold it at the same time in order to use it.
Or we could all 4 use it like right now for our podcasting. Each of us would get a section of it for multitasking.
Or you put it on the table and you can put tacos in between the folds.
It is
literally
the
taco holder, right?
phone.
It really is the phone that does everything.
Well, I don't see an IP rating for it, so hopefully, no sharp crumbs would just obliterate the phone as it does with most foldables. But yeah, I mean, if you're interested in this phone, you don't live in the U.S., but you live in the typical global markets. I don't know. Just keep an eye out if you have 3,000 USD equivalent on hand next year.
Someone out there, once this is out, we need y'all to have your eyes peeled for an in the wild.
Yes.
Grab
In the wild.
So if you see it out in the wild, take a picture, send it to us. If you buy one, take a picture and send it to us.
Yes, please. Send us an email.
If you're an eccentric billionaire, buy us one and send it to us.
Buy us 4.
Buy one. Let us know. We'll interview you for the Android Faithful website on your
100%.
experience.
You can come on the show. If anyone buys this, you will be a guest in the show. I'm saying it right now. I do not care. You can come on, show us on the camera, prove that you got it.
100%.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes,
So.
That's like that ultimate tier we have on our Patreon. So either was it $1,000?
$500. I think it's $500.
500 or buy a Huawei Mate XT.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Make your dreams come true.
Thank you.
There you go. Finally.
All right, so that wraps up hardware, and we got some app news from around the world.
That's right. Starting with some news from Microsoft.
Which blew. I did a double take on this headline.
I didn't
was
understand
like,
what this meant.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even understand the words. I was like,
generally the internet loves to clown on Google for its branding woes, but Microsoft might have taken the cake here. So they've released the Windows app, now available on Android and other platforms. What does the Windows app do? Well, it provides a remote desktop to Windows, or a cloud instance of Windows. So you're familiar with the Microsoft Remote Desktop app, right? They've basically rebranded all that, and as well as all their other, cloud-based access to Windows apps, to just the Windows app.
I mean, in their defense,
it makes sense. You open the Windows app to use Windows.
In their defense, this makes sense better.
It kind of makes sense, but
kind of.
But RDP. You just say that acronym, and everyone who's worked with any computers knows what that is, right?
It's clear,
right? I don't even know
normies. Think about the normal Windows user, right? Yeah.
Now they're not be like, oh, here's a Windows app. I tap the Windows app, I get Windows.
Yeah.
Which does make sense. Yeah. So to be clear, this unified app, according to Microsoft, quote, serves as a secure gateway to connect to Windows across Windows 365. Azure Virtual Desktop, Remote Desktop Services, Microsoft DevBox, and more. So this is just a single app that gives you access to all of those various instances of Windows, whether it's your own computer sitting at home or a cloud computer, hosted on Microsoft servers. And you can use your peripherals to connect to it. You can customize home screens. You get multi-monitor support, USB redirection. You get multi-factor authentication to log in to your cloud computer. It seems like a pretty nice app. I haven't used it yet, so I can't tell you if they've actually made any material changes to the way you access Windows through the remote desktop app versus the new Windows app. But if you do use it, for either for personal use or for work, let us know and tell us how it is.
You will not be a guest on the show.
No, we can't do that story.
Unless you have the Huawei Mate 3 and you've installed the Windows app on it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, that would actually be a really good desktop.
Think about it.
Do that.
Yeah.
When you launch the app, does it go? Does
it play the?
Yeah.
Does it have solitaire on it? Anyway, well, good on you, Microsoft. Good job. Also, good job goes out to the fine folks at Instagram who, in terms of features I wish existed 5 years ago when my sister needed it, they're rolling out a teen account function on Instagram that is designed to allow kids under 16 to use Instagram, but with a layer of protection and pseudo parental controls. Basically, all teen accounts are defaulted to private. which means that you need to approve any followers and control who sees their content. And they'll be restricted to make it harder to find sensitive content that's out there on the Explore tab or on Reels, so protecting our kids. Additionally, it's designed to protect them from getting unwanted messages, which anybody who uses Instagram or any other social media platform unfortunately knows that is like the worst part of it. And also allows parents to not see DMs, like the contents of the DMs, but see who's messaging their kids, right? So, and so like it does give the kids a sense of autonomy and independence, and that like, okay, my kid is messaging their best friend, that's an okay, I'll allow that conversation to happen, but some person I don't know who it is, and you tap through and you see it's an older gentleman, like, no, stay away from my daughter. And it was funny because like the reason why I mentioned this is my sister has my nieces, now they're in college, but 5-6 years ago, it was a real war in the household. My youngest niece wanted to be on Instagram when she was like 14, and my sister questioned the safety of it. I've got younger kids. I'm going to have to deal with this as they get older. I mean, you've got kids right in this window. I mean, is this something that you would this allow you to get them go on Instagram and put these in place? Or?
Yeah, for sure. I think any protection, I think you pointed out the thing that's really important to me is like, I, as a parent, don't want to run the technology aspect of my children's lives in a way that doesn't also teach them personal responsibility in the process. I don't want to take care of everything for them so that they don't learn those skills. So features like that kind of set that balance point of like, all right, at least now we have an insight or an understanding of what's going on, and you still have the ability to be somewhat autonomous in how you use these things. Right. I think that's really important, right? Like as parents to our kids, I believe it's our job to teach them how to use these things responsibly, not completely, block them from every, ounce of it. And then when they finally get access to it, they're completely unskilled and they get themselves into trouble immediately. I think that's good.
And so it'd be nice if like TikTok took a page from this, or like the other, like when you think about the really, really popular apps amongst kids, because I think the more protections we can have that also have autonomy or let the kids feel like they're controlling it is helpful, because it lets them grow into responsible users. So.
It does make it. I really actually I think that's something kind of like very happy inside me when you said that the DMs are private, especially as someone who was a tech savvy teenager and knew my way around such things. I'm happy for that.
Well, that was always my joke, because my sister would ask me, she's like, your niece wants to be on TikTok, she wants to be on Instagram, should I? And I said to my sister, I was like, she was 15 at the time. She hadn't done it because she was waiting for her mom's permission. And I was like, honestly, you've done the job. She's not doing, like, if that was me at 15, I'm already on it and you don't know.
Exactly.
Right? Like, think about what we did. I mean, at like 9, 10, I was on BBS's, and we were doing, and my parents just never knew, right? Well, my dad knew a little bit, but they wasn't checking what I was doing or where I was going. Those of us who are into it are going to figure out how to do it.
Right.
But the fact that the kid had a level of responsibility and was waiting to be told that she had permission, I was like, you did a good job. Now reward her. Now reward that.
And I should also mention, TikTok does have parental controls as well. So I think they've all, I don't know why it's taken them, kicking and screaming, dragging their feet along the way to kind of get to this point. But at this point, there is a little bit of that extra kind of understanding that these controls need to be in there for parents to feel comfortable with it, for kids to be safe using these platforms, if they're even allowed to use them to begin with, because they were, whether they were allowed to or not, like you said. So
I mean, as usual with these things, it's kind of taken to the point, like the reason we're seeing this stuff is because of the threat of regulation that would crack down even harder.
Sure, exactly. All right, well, good job, Instagram.
Way to go, Insta. And finally, just a couple kind of like a Google Apps roundup of sorts. Android Auto being the first one to highlight here, a new pretty minor feature headed to Android Auto
but
interface.
Much needed.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, so because I mean, I haven't really used Android Auto much in recent years, I'd say, but an add stop button is going to show underneath the destination on the screen during the countdown to the start of navigation.
It is unbelievably frustrating on Android Auto to do a multiple stop trip. Android Auto is very much you're here and you're going there, and it's like, right, but I want to stop somewhere in between.
Yeah, gas station.
I mean, I've always done that for my phone because it'll automatically have that navigation set when I turn on Android Auto. But like definitely being able to do it quickly from the touchscreen on a car right before you actually depart would be handy. So you don't have to pull out your phone and do everything from there.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Cool. All right. Google Photos getting an Ultra HD edit option. There was already, or has been, an HDR effect option in the settings for editing a photo. Apparently, that's going to be changed to vibrance, and Ultra HD is going to be a new feature. Still unclear as.
Ultra HDR.
Oh, sorry, Ultra HDR. Sorry, yeah, it didn't move over here when I typed it in. Apparently, it turned it to HD, HDR. But what is the difference between Ultra HDR and the HDR effect compared to vibrance? That's going to be what the HDR effect turns. I don't know. They don't know exactly.
Yeah.
What would they call the Ultra HDR? If regular HDR is vibrance, what could Ultra HDR be?
Ultra vibrant.
Ultraviolet, ultra vibrant. Ultra vibrant actually is a pretty snappy name.
Super vibrant.
Yeah.
Google Photos also getting a flip image edit tool. This according to this guy named Mishaal on X.
Who's that guy?
Who might be sitting at this table right now. That's one of those features that you're like, really? That wasn't there already?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
This is literally one of the only reasons that I would still use the stock gallery app on a lot of devices. Is because you just can't flip images in Google Photos until now. It's unbelievable that this basic feature has been missing for so long.
And especially because that kind of sounds like, okay, well, when would I ever use it? There are a lot of phones, and we experienced this last night. I'm not going to give any more detail, but there are a lot of phones that when you use the selfie camera, don't automatically flip it back over when it's processed onto the device or saved on the device. So it's the mirror image, and so any text in there is backwards. I don't know why they don't do that in phones. Why would they allow a selfie camera to just
not
produce
auto mirror,
and not correct it? Anyways, this would allow you to easily correct it in Google Photos, and that's much needed because that actually happens a surprising amount. And then finally, Google Messages adding a new sending as feature, also profile management. This has to do with multiple accounts, possibly dual SIM support for RCS.
Very cool.
And so you can manage which account you're sending from via RCS as RCS gets more and more feature rich and built out and everything.
Very good option to have for sure.
Yeah, cool. Now that iOS has officially anointed
got
RCS,
the message.
The whole world,
they got the message. Hashtag.
They did Google did another spot of the two phones talking to each other. Have you been to the movies? Have you seen this?
No.
The best phones forever.
Yeah, the best phones forever. They did now a version with around messaging. So an iPhone and an Android phone talking to each other, being best friends. And, it's nice. Unity.
If you have friends with iOS, open your Google Messages app, get in a text chat with them, and see if it says RCS. If it's not, tell them update to iOS 18 already.
Yeah.
You know what I've heard of now is I've heard of people trying to iPhone use. Oh God, am I going to start a little war here? iPhone users starting to turn off RCS support.
I don't think it's really a thing. I saw one person on Twitter mentioned that, and then they got dunked on by everyone.
BS. Yeah, that's BS.
So if that's happening, don't do that. Yeah, don't be that person.
You
please.
Apple people listening.
Just let it go.
Yeah, we love our Apple fan. Please don't turn off RCS, and we can be friends, just like in the commercials.
And that is that. That's the news. That's
or
not
is
the
it
show.
Though? No, it's not all the news and not all the show. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got some exciting new news coming from Google around Google TV, as well as an exclusive interview with some of the folks behind Google TV.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, and we'll be back in a minute from the studio.
All right, and with that, we've now moved beyond the first of three parts. That was Star Wars Android Faithful Edition, A New Hope. The next phase is The Empire Strikes Back.
Talk about setting the bar very high, but we hope you enjoyed that first part. It was a lot of fun. That was recorded last Friday at Droidcon New York City. As we mentioned in the show, it was great to be in person with Huyen and Mishaal and you, Jason, in my hometown, in my backyard.
Yeah. Got to see your neighborhood, not the one that you currently live in, but you're in a previous era where you were podcasting from a home. I got to see the neighborhood and everything.
We had lunch at one of my favorite spots in Long Island City, so I was glad to be able to take you there. Yeah,
the food that I had on this trip was pretty spectacular.
Good. I'm glad that New York delivered for you. Droidcon was a lot of fun. But as we mentioned, there's more news this week that we have to cover, right?
Yeah. So we have a few more pieces of news that have happened since Droidcon. So we thought we'd share a few of those, and then we'll get to the interview That's coming up in a moment. First, let's talk about a few news hits here, starting with Nothing, which launched their new ear product. So Nothing has their earbud line of products. This time it's an entirely new type of design. It's called the Nothing Ear Open, and it has an open ear design. Actually, it looks pretty funky. No, the insect is not a part of it, but you can see, they've stayed with the kind of transparent, translucent, whatever you want to call it, design. Although you have the little wraparound coil that is meant to go shape around your ear and hold it into place. And because this is an open ear design, essentially what that means is it's not sealing the audio inside of your ear canal. So Ron, you'll probably really dig this format.
I actually really do. Yeah, I'm really excited to get my hands on this because this is like, I don't really necessarily like, because I use my ear stick. I still have my Nothing ear sticks that I use all the time. It has a similar, although the way it goes in the ear for the ear stick is slightly different. The ear stick is more of a bean, more of a oval kind of bean, where this is more of a this new one is more of a round earbud, but I actually prefer the round earbud format. I'm not a big fan of the over-the-ear kind of Star Trek-y kind of, Uhura kind of approach, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I'll give it a try. It looks great. It looks different. It looks unlike any other thing out there on the market, which is Nothing's calling card these days. So
indeed. The design is definitely different from what you're used to seeing. Actually, I do remember I can't remember how many years ago, but I had the opportunity to review a pair of Sony earbuds that were not exactly like this, but kind of did a similar around the ear thing, and the earbud didn't actually go in the ear canal at all. It was almost like it was a speaker that hovered right on the outside of your ear, and at the time it was the design was meant to kind of keep you connected to your environment even when you're listening to something. And I think they were okay. I would imagine we've got a lot more years of development, and Nothing's really focused a lot of their R&D on earbuds and design, obviously, in that regard. So
I will say I would like to, because I think I've blown out these ear sticks by using them while running. And I think that sweat has gotten into them, and like they just like the audio level is so low on them now, I can barely hear it. Like I was mowing my lawn over the weekend, and I could barely hear it anymore. So I'm wondering if these are kind of more attuned for fitness than not, like it's a little more breathable, that sort of things. But so we'll see. But
we'll see. It does have some other features just to kind of give some details and specs. 8 hours on a single charge. That's actually pretty great. 30 hours with the case, which it feels like is maybe a little low. So maybe it's a more, like a smaller case or smaller battery inside the case. AI features, including a clear voice technology that uses AI to enhance the quality of calls. Buds certainly have this, so Nothing doing it. A gesture feature to chat with ChatGPT using the buds that you can set up inside of the app. Also dual connection, so you can switch between devices, and a low lag mode, which is meant for reducing latency for gaming. Cool. And cost $149. Purchase available October 1st, which is right around the corner.
I advocate for Nothing's audio products. I love the ear stick.
You've been a fan. I personally have not had any to try out. So
all right. Well, we get your hands on some of them, so you can play. You can check it out.
Get my ears inside of them.
Get your ear. Get it in your ears. In your ear.
Get it in my ears. Yeah, ears inside of them would not work. That would be a little weird.
So while this week is a weird week in terms of that we did that pre-record last week, we still want to hear from you, the patrons, the awesome patrons over at patreon.com/AndroidFaithful who help support the show week in and week out. We wouldn't be here without you, and we thank you so much. And I want to thank a handful of our patrons this week. I want to thank Thomas Hillman, Chad Leachman, Raymond Wishart, Kelly Burrows, and Daniel Gilly, who's also from my backyard in Long Island. So Daniel, good to hear. Good to have you supporting. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate your support. And every week, those supporting patrons get to go to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful and vote on a news story for us to talk about. They also get to see lovely AI-generated art created by our audience. And this week, Brad Ducks who is pretty awesome, sent in this lovely, I like the artistic style of this bug droid sitting outside with a cup of coffee or tea, reading the paper. It's a kind of a painterly kind of style. It's a little more abstract than the usual bug droid, but I like it as well. Yeah, I
like a
I
digital
like it a lot.
painting. I could see this being an animated short.
Exactly. It looks kind of like Wild Robot-y, that movie that's coming out, which I'm going to take my kids to go see. But audio listeners, go to YouTube to check out to see this graphic. It's pretty cool because I think you can only see it if you're a paying member on Patreon. So there you go. So this week you had 3 choices to choose from, patrons. The last one that got the least amount of votes, 5% of the vote, was Samsung Galaxy's Ring. May soon come in more sizes. Nobody cares about the Galaxy Ring. Nobody cares.
I wonder what that says about the Galaxy Ring, but anyways.
Coming in second with 38% of the vote was Mishaal's article, actually on Android Authority, about Android's tablet lock screen widgets feature doesn't play nicely with third-party launchers. So that was interesting. But the winning story this week, with 57% of the vote, was the fact that Google Photos was broken for nearly a month.
Oh, really?
And this is one of those stories that when I read it, I was like, oh my God, that explains it. So turns out for the past month, there was an issue within the Google Photos app around the image search feature that was broken for about 20 days. And basically, image search prompts stopped showing search results or gave you search results that had nothing to do with the search prompt. And I totally fell for this. Like a week ago or so, I was looking for a picture and I typed in like one of my kids' names and something and got like photos that had nothing to do with it. I was like, "Oh, that Google Photos doesn't work." Like, and I kind of dismissed it, but turns out it was actually broken. It was reported several times into the product forums, and now there's folks talking about it on Reddit. And now the latest version of Google Photos has a fix in there. So you want to make sure you get on version 7.0.0.6749477721. By the way, Google, make your version number simpler. Yeah, come on, 7.1. Come on.
Could you have a version number shortener, kind of like a URL shortener,
exactly,
but for version numbers?
But it is really funny that when something like this happens on a massively used app, like my first instinct is like, well, something must be wrong with my photos, or something must be wrong with my app.
Yeah.
Or like the idea that there's a bug or a problem in there that made it out there, I just find unfathomable, but it happens. We're fallible. We're humans, right?
I mean, I realize that this is probably a thing that just happened, but I feel like I've been having weird issues with the Google Photos search not being nearly as good as it used to be for probably the last year at least. If
oh wow, so longer than 20 days.
Yeah, I at some point there was a demarcation in my experience with Google Photos search. Like, there was a certain point where I swear I went in there. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I can start just searching it instead of browsing. And it was really effective if I put in like red shirt or something like that. And I don't know, somewhere in the last year and a half, somewhere in that time frame, I really lost my assumption that would work just from repeated times where I go in there to do that same behavior and I don't get exactly what I'm looking for, or more than likely I get 0 results. And just a blank screen. And so I'm like, oh, well, have I figured out a query that doesn't work with this thing, or is it not working or whatever? So, I mean, well before this, I'd kind of like figured, oh yeah, the search product on Google Photos isn't nearly as good as it used to be.
Yeah. So I just think it's really funny how, again, like I thought it was just me. You don't think it's on an app level side of things. And who knows what stuff they're doing behind the scenes on the algorithm with all the Gemini stuff, with all the AI stuff, like, how like what you're experiencing, the degradation of the quality, like I wonder if that's a real thing or a perceived thing, Yeah,
I mean, I know that there have been times where I open it up to do a search that I'm pretty certain would have worked at one point, and now it doesn't work. And I don't know. Right. Again, I don't know if it's a momentary blip where it, and if I came back later that day, it would actually pull it back or whatever, or what. It also worth mentioning that there is a Gemini-powered version of this feature that's, coming very soon that we've talked about called Ask Photos, which is going to potentially is going to be the solution to these issues.
It's going to replace this. Yeah.
It's going to replace this, is my understanding. Essentially, it allows you to really go, conversational with what you're looking for, and it does a better job of returning results. So I'm happy about that. It looks like there's a solution in the wings.
Cool. All right, and now to get to the second or the main event of this week's show, right?
The main event, starting with the news of the main event before we get into the interview of the main event. Google TV getting some updates. Some of you, may have wondered if some of those features that we heard of during the Made by Google event coming on the, at the time, announced Google TV streamer device, which wasn't released. At the time, it had a bunch of features, and it was like, okay, well, is this like Pixel? Are these features just going to be here and not for other Google TV devices? Well, it turns out a lot of these features are going to hit Google TV on a wider scale. Smart home panel coming to, Gemini just fired off my phone. Hello, Gemini. Smart home panel coming to Google TV across the board, so not just isolated to the streamer device. Nest doorbell notifications. No clue on when these features are going to hit the other devices, but they're certainly coming. So, we're going to get those. The custom screensavers and specifically the generative AI custom screensavers coming to devices outside of the streamer. Gemini AI enhanced overviews, of course, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
For You also gets a dedicated sports page. That's going to be releasing for more people. And then Google TV Free Play getting getting a total of 150 free channels, which is really kind of crazy when you think
awesome.
about it. That's a lot of free content. And, it really does act as if you're just turning on a TV and flipping through channels. 150 channels. It's great.
And that's you'll hear us talk about it in the interview that's about to come up. But the emergence and the success of apps like Tubi and Pluto and things like that have showed that people don't mind watching commercials, and Google is adapting to that. Before we get to the interview, though, Jason, I got my hands on a Google TV streamer. Did you get yours?
Yeah. Yes, I did, and I got it right before the trip to New York. So I actually posted an unboxing kind of short, quick, cut video on the TechSploder YouTube channel from the hotel room.
Nice, that was awesome.
It worked out great.
You posted it to Instagram also, and I reposted it from the Android Faithful Instagram account. Yeah, so you can see it there.
Yeah.
But
so started playing around with it.
Initial impressions, I like it. It feels faster than the Chromecast. So
I like it. Yes, the remote, man, that remote is slippery. That is a slippery bugger. So much so that my daughter was using it on the couch. We have an electric couch that kind of reclines and goes back and forth. And I was doing my thing, and she comes in with the remote, and she's like, "I'm sorry, it slipped in between the couch, and it got crunched a little bit." So my review unit remote is not in perfect condition. You know what? That's life. It just happens. Yeah, exactly. It's a slippery remote.
It's funny because the Google TV streamer now there's a button on the back of it, and you can press it so you can find the lost remote. And I tested it, and the beeping is so subtle and quiet. My wife is like, "I'm not sure I'd be able to find that."
Oh, really? That's so interesting. Because at the Made by Google event, the lady who I was talking with, who was kind of walking me through it from the event, tested out the device, and I thought it was really loud. I wonder if there's a volume setting or something.
I'll have to check the volume setting, and also our house is loud at times.
Yeah, okay.
So it could be that. Yeah.
The one thing I want to say about the streamer device and my experience with it so far is that home screen is pretty it's very organized, and they've really done a lot of work. I just wish that there was a way to remove rows that you don't.
Yes, 100% agree.
It can be really noisy, and I kind of would love to tame the noise a little bit.
They're pushing a lot of their algorithmic curation or other stuff like that, and but you know where I file that under? I file it under I want a button in YouTube TV to tell it that I don't watch football.
Yeah,
because if YouTube TV tries to get me to sign up for Sunday Ticket one more time, I don't want it. I don't want it. There's no. Yeah. I haven't given you any triggers to indicate that I want football in any way. And I know it's a major product, and I know that they're making money that way. But it's the same mindset where they want us to do this stuff. So it's just a challenge. But yeah. I think we should hear more about Google TV. What do you think?
Yes, I think we need to. So let's jump into this interview with Shalini Govil-Pai from the Google TV. Side of Google.
the vice president and general manager of Google TV, who we're very happy gave us some time to chat with you, me, and Mishaal all about the updates to the platform. So let's check it out. And we're really excited right now to be joined by Shalini Govil-Pai, who is the GM and VP of Google TV at Google. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ron and Mishaal. Very excited about it.
Yeah. And we're super excited because we are huge fans of Google TV. I know personally I am. That's what fuels my living room, and my kids watch it on a daily basis. And previously it had been through the Google TV or Chromecast. But we're so excited because this week in stores is the Google TV streamer device, where we're not only getting a new form factor, but we're getting a ton of new improvements on the software side. I was wondering if you could share with us some of the most notable software updates with this new release, and would love to hear like your personal favorite feature that's available in the new device.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm going to just step back a little bit before I get into the actual question. So there are two aspects of Google TV. One is the actual platform, and that's based off of course, as you know, Android, and it's an operating system that goes within all kinds of form factors and TVs. In fact, we have 7 of the top 10 TV OEMs that partner with us towards this platform, and more than 100 operators worldwide. So that's our extent of our scale. The Google TV Streamer is a hardware device that we have launched as Google. It has the Google TV platform within it. So hopefully that's not too confusing.
No, and it makes sense. And I think that distinction is good to make everyone kind of aware of, because it is a platform that is deployed out to devices, and one such device you guys happen to sell, but you could go buy a TV with Google TV on it as well. Right?
Absolutely. And the reason we have our own first-party device is because we really use it as our foray into what is the most cutting-edge experience that you can have today on TV, and how does Google personify it? And so that's really our mentality when we launch our first-party devices, because we want to showcase what Google believes TV is all about. Yeah. And then, of course, we want all our partners to adopt that as well. And some of our partners adopt all of it, and some of our partners don't adapt. They only adapt parts of it. Like our operator partners, for example, only take on our operating system and they build their own user experience on top. So that's the reason we do our own device. And I would say I'm really excited about this device because with it, we're really formulating a key update, which I'm personally very excited about, which is around smart home. Smart home is finally becoming a real traction. I don't know if you have any smart home devices in your home. I finally started getting into my home. I've got the Nest cameras, I've got light bulbs, I've got my thermostat, and you know, the convenience of being able to control it from wherever you are is such a huge and powerful thing. And to be able to do that from your TV, like to be able to see who's at the front door while you're watching TV, I think is just going to be a phenomenally mind-blowing experience. And so that is one of the first updates that we've made to it. It's really now your smart home panel. You can check on the kids or the pets or see who's at the door without having to leave your couch. So that's one big change that we think is happening. Yeah. The other big one, we cannot go into any meeting these days without talking about AI. Now, AI has been around for a while, but really the power of AI in the generative form, or what we call generative AI, where it can actually generate imagery, generate text, is really what's becoming very powerful today. And, you know, if I think of the TVs tomorrow, where they're headed is, I don't know if you have a frame TV, but the frame TVs are these, what I call always on TVs. Even when you're not watching TV, you can leave them on and they turn into these brilliant art pieces in your home, occupying the biggest wall in your living room, really practically. And so towards that, you know, we've been really working very closely with our AI teams on bringing two things. One is generative art, so you can actually generate your own imagery. You know, you and your kids can sit around the TV, generate it, and put it as your screensaver for the day, which I really love because, you know, you have small kids you were just talking about. Yep. And I'm sure they put up artwork and you put it up on your fridge. Well, this is the digital equivalent in my mind of like creating something and then putting it up on your TV for everyone to see. So that's one.
Well, I will interject quickly there. I do own the Samsung Frame TV.
You do?
And given the amount of time that me and my kids have spent with the Pixel Studio app on my Pixel 9 already, I fear for what the creations we will be making in the living room will be.
I would love to hear from you, Ron, after you get the device, like how you're using it. I would love to see that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, because they've already come up with some wacky creations, that's for sure. So.
And the second favorite for me is photo screensavers. So this is, you leave your TV on and then you can actually reminisce about your baby's first, when your baby was first born, who was there at the baby shower, what was the events that you did on your first vacation. They all kind of pop up in this very serendipitous way, which I find really, really brilliant. One of the other days I was looking at this photo from like 2002, which I had forgotten about when my son was first born. His grandparents had come and we had this beautiful ceremony in our home, and we were able to reminisce about that and really teach him about the culture of why we did that. I'm so very excited about the photo screensavers as well. And finally, the biggest feature that is on the Google TV streamer that I love is Find My Remote. So like if you're like anything like me, our remote is always getting lost in between our sofa and we're never able to find it. And so now with this new functionality, you can just press the button and it'll beep as to where it is. And so I'm very excited about that as well.
Yeah, I played around with that a little bit at the Made by Google event, and that was pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know how many times I've lost my remote, so that'll be a nice feature.
Sometimes it's the simplest things that are the most magical.
Yeah,
For sure.
So, everyone uses their TVs in a wildly different way. Me personally, I open the TV, I launch the app that I want to, watch videos in for the day. Other people browse through the curated suggestions on their home feed. And one of the new updates that you're bringing on the Google TV streamer is this new Gemini-powered content suggestions feature. I kind of wanted to ask you a bit about, have you done any, I guess, like user studies or, like marketing tests to see, is this increasing how often people are actually clicking on suggestions on the home feed? Like, are these AI-generated suggestions actually having a measurable impact on getting people to find content that they actually like?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mishaal. First of all, I would say we always test everything that we put out there. We have a multiple series of steps that we do. One is, the first step is UXR, where we actually have our teams go out and provide in-house research as to how people are thinking about what they're doing on TV, what would be helpful for them. And of course, the biggest goal of TV is to help you find what you want to watch right away. And so that's always our focus. And we do constant research. And then we also do what we call dog food testing. I'm sure you've heard this word dog fooding because you're the Android experts. But we actually have all of our Googlers use our products. We eat our own dog food, if you will. And then we have them give us feedback as to yay, nay, what did I love, what did I hate? And so we have a really strong set of dog food testing and satisfaction criteria before which we launch anything. And so we always do a lot of the testing around it. Towards the AI-powered content recommendations, there are two parts to it, Mishaal. One, which we've always had, which is AI-powered recommendations. So if you look at the Google TV home screen, it's not just a grid of apps, because that was the first thing when I joined Google TV that I changed, because every consumer was telling me, great to have so much content, but I really don't know what to watch. And you guys are the search kings and queens, and so help me find what I want to get to quickly. And so that was the first stage of Google TV, which is really understanding the content out there, understanding what are your user preferences, and then really sussing out what would be something you want to watch so that you spend less time searching within the apps. Like, Mishaal, you're going into the apps. The ideal goal for us is you don't really need to go into the apps to search. You can find very quickly what you want to watch, and we get you into the app directly to the content as fast as possible. So that was our first AI release. The one that we just announced yesterday was around, now what further signals can we give to our consumers where they understand, okay, this is recommended to me, but really, is it something that I want to watch? What is the world saying about it? What are the reviews saying about it? And that is what our Gemini-powered AI overviews is about, which is once you click into the content, you can actually see the overviews, the summaries. What are people across the web saying about this content? Did they love it? Did they not love it? If not, why? Is it something you want to watch with your family or not? Those are the overviews that we're putting on top and layering it on top. And our early testing within our dog food groups have been phenomenally powerful. Like everyone has told us, this is one of the strongest reasons for me to click within the content and go actually to the show. So that's what we just announced on the AI-powered summary side.
Awesome.
That's great. And actually, to follow up on the AI side of things and the curation of stuff, with all the announcements around Google AI and leveraging what you guys are doing with your own AI models, but also the user's preferences to curate content suggestions. Can you tell us what the user preferences the AI model is pulling from to curate those suggestions? Like, how can users refine those preferences to enhance the suggestions, basically?
And so our signals really are based on many different factors that are just naturally part of the user setup, which is, for example, if you add a new streaming service, like let's say I added Netflix to my account, then clearly I want to prioritize Netflix content above others because I'm paying for it and I want to be able to watch it. Similarly, if you watch list shows or content, we have a strong signal with the search team where you can actually watch list content that you're interested in. Ron, for example, let's say you and I have this conversation and you tell me, hey, this is the show that I'm watching. Shalini, you would love it. That's one of the strongest signals, by the way, is friends recommending you things. And so once you put it on and so if you recommended that content to me, I can quickly add it to my watch list. That's the strongest signal that we have, that you want to watch something and we would surface it right away. And then, of course, the genres that all of these signify. So if I watch listed something or if I watch something, then being able to understand these are the genres that are probably interesting for this person and surfacing more of that is another signal. And then finally, of course, as we curate this, we find that you're not clicking into certain things or you're clicking into certain things. Those are very, very strong signals for us as well.
Yeah.
Very
I'm
cool.
super excited to play around with, to kind of see what those recommendations engines are going to offer up for me. Just because, oh my goodness, there's so much great stuff out there. There's too
much TV to watch. That's all I know. Yeah,
totally. And I've got a small amount of time.
That comment.
Help me.
Yep.
That's the point. Another thing that I'm really excited about is the smart home integration that you talked about briefly at the top, and namely the Google Home panel. That again, at the Made by Google event, I got to play around with that a little bit. Surfaces on the right side of the screen, and it's a feature that I think I've had in my head as a wish list item for a very long time. So it's nice to see it implemented. The question I have about this is how that gets managed from the user perspective. Like, I know as a user, I've got the Google Home app on my phone, and I do a lot of management of all the smart home controls within the app. How is that managed on the screen itself inside of the streamer? Is that done in collaboration with the app on my phone, or is there like an interface set up within the OS that allows me to manage that on the TV?
Yeah, first of all, Jason, I'm so glad that we were able to fulfill your wish. And please do feel free to send me any wishes that you have. We're always listening and innovating on the platform based on what our consumers tell us. And so that's a big signal for us.
Sure.
On the home side itself, this is in close partnership with the Google Home app. So, because we don't want unnatural things for our consumers. And TV is naturally more of a lean back experience, whereas your phone tends to be much more of an active experience. And so all of our favorites, customization from the Google Home app on your phone translates to the TV. And that's really how this is set up. And that's how it would work for you, Jason. In addition, if you think about how quickly will a picture-in-picture show up, how quickly does, what's the latency around it? Again, we try to map very closely with our mobile experience so that it's much more natural for people to understand what to expect. And, it's similar on the phone and it's similar on TV, but some places it's easier to do things on the phone, such as setup. And then the lean back and the actual experience of the the whole setup is better done on TV.
Excellent.
So speaking of the performance on the Google TV streamer, and so far we've talked a lot about the great app experience and the experience of getting into your favorite videos and streaming services. But on the other end of the spectrum, there's gaming. I kind of want to hear your thoughts on the state of gaming on TV streaming devices like the Google TV streamer, as well as Google TV in general. Is this a big area of focus for the future, or is this something that is just not as big of a consideration right now?
No, look, we're always looking at the future and trying to understand what are the trends, what are things that users want today, but coming down the pipeline, what are things that they may want that they maybe even don't even know that it's going to be possible to have. I mentioned the always on TV, which is going to be the frame TVs. Think of the next generation also having far field microphones. What can that do for helpfulness in the home? So that's a big one that we're undertaking, which is why you're seeing some of these early releases of our generative AI and photos experiences. Gaming always comes up because if you think about, where do I play games? I play them either on my phone if I'm a casual gamer. Those are like the phone is a natural place for me to land up. And then more of the hardcore gaming experiences are on TV through your Xbox or your PS3. And, the thing about the TV itself is currently the technology is limited because the SoCs, the device, the actual hardware inside is not custom made for a game. It's really made for video streaming and showcasing of imagery. And so technically, it's not actually ready to put on a lot of the TV-based gaming onto the TV device itself. That's why you need an external plugin like an Xbox, as I mentioned. So we're always looking at it and thinking about ways that we can make this more effective. We've looked at casual games on TV. They haven't honestly worked out. Some of it is form factor, the modality of there's really no game controller that comes with it. Do I have to use my phone with it? The phone to TV pairing sometimes is not the greatest. So we haven't seen casual games pick up as much. On the hardcore gaming side, as you know, we ourselves had launched Stadia, which didn't work out for us for many reasons. I'm seeing a number of different efforts coming up in the industry, Stadia-like, and other people tackling it, and we're working with them. These are early days, and so time will tell. Like I said, sometimes things feel natural, like this should just naturally be on TV, but the technology is not quite ready to make it happen, or the business models are not quite ready. And so those are things that we always have in our purview, but we're not ready to launch it just as yet.
All right.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Another question that we had around the Android component of Google TV is that we noticed that Google released Android 14 for the TV this year instead of Android 15 for the TV after skipping over Android 13 for TV last year. So I guess our question is that are you moving to a bi-yearly release schedule for Android TV, or how does the Android TV release schedule compare to the other, kind of the other aspects of the Android universe?
The life cycle of a TV is much longer than a mobile device. And it's really important for us that we manage our systems such that security is top notch, that the upgrades are at the level that both our SoC and OEM partners can manage, but that it's good for the consumer. And so I can't comment on exactly what the upgrade cycles are, but we've evolved them. As you can tell, we've evolved them over the years so that it's in a good place for both our partners as well as our consumers.
Right. I appreciate that. And that's the kind of thing where, like, I mentioned I have the Samsung Frame TV. I bought it in 2021. And I don't plan on getting a new TV. It works fine, right? So a lot of people have their TVs for a while. Do you guys, how much feedback do you get from the OEMs themselves about the release schedule and their plans as they release new TVs? Do you work as closely with your partners as you do in other aspects of hardware? Or?
We work very closely with our OEM partners. Not only in the release cycles, which of course is like a big day. The big day is when you release and you do OTAs, and so that's We're in constant communication, as I mentioned, the testing, including getting the Google dog fooders, understanding that they're also testing release cycles for us. In addition, of course, to the standard QA methodologies that we follow, we're in constant communication with our OEMs there. But in addition, we're also constantly in touch. In fact, we have a regular cadence where they provide us customer feedback. So as you know, we're a platform, and so we're not directly in front of the customer. It's the OEMs that are in front of the customer. They're the ones who manage the first help release cycles. And so they actually give us all of that information back too, so that we can understand what are the issues that are on the field that we really need to manage for our customers. We're in contact with our OEMs almost on a daily basis on many of these different aspects.
With the release of the streamer, we've got some new features that are announced that aren't specific to the hardware itself. And I'm wondering kind of to give listeners a chance to know what some of those features are.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the smart home functionality is one of our biggest ones that we're leaning into. The ability to, integrate with everything that's happening around your home to provide you maximum security. That you're, even while you're watching TV, you can keep an eye around the house. That's number one. Number two are the AI components that we talked about. These will be available across all of our OEM platforms as well. Those include the AI screensavers, photos, being able to ask photos to showcase certain things, such as my vacation in Italy, the AI overviews that we just talked about. Those are some of the more compelling features that we're launching. We're also launching a bunch of other features that will actually be part of the experience. A big one is around sports topic pages. So we launched this with the Olympics this year, and so what it is I can very quickly find just what I want to know about the Olympics. So we have a whole page dedicated to it. You can see what's the latest. You can see what's the highlights coming up on YouTube. You can follow certain players and be able to get yourself updated on the content there. So that's another one that's coming up with our new platform update. And of course, we've already announced we continue to invest heavily in what we call FAST, or free ad-supported TV. We have, I think we're very, very competitive, if not one of the biggest libraries of free ad-supported TV. We have 150 native built-in channels and over 800 channels that we get from our partners, such as Pluto and Tubi. I will say, I'm surprised I was a little bit surprised, let me put it this way. I was a little bit surprised to see the appetite for this type of television, because you think about it, it's really library content that you think maybe people have already watched, but people love to watch reruns. And, ads are really a way of life on TV. People are used to it. They actually love watching ads. This was the surprising thing for me, is people love to watch ads on TV. And so the traction we've seen on the FAST side has been pretty phenomenal. And so we continue to invest in that as well.
Yeah, I've been following the fast phenomenon as it is, because we assume a couple of years ago, we assumed we're going the way of streaming. There will be no more commercials. You're going to pay for stuff. But then you see stuff like Tubi and Pluto and stuff like that. And I use Pluto all the time to watch old game shows, to watch Beverly Hills 90210, to watch all that sort of stuff. And the fast channels are great. And I know you guys kind of dipped your toe in it with the previous version of Google TV. I have the little icon for my Google free TV channels, and I've used that to browse from there. So it's great to see that you guys are adding 150 more channels to it, and it's like you said, people just like to watch TV and are okay with ads. I think more so than the industry in general thought they would be, and so it's great to see that it's there.
People love the
and so
free
then
stuff.
When you have so many channels, the search problem is a real problem, and so we also provide a lot of functionality on how to quickly get to the channels that you're interested in.
That's such a big part of it, for sure. Well, Shalini, this has been great. As you can tell, that we're very passionate for our living room experience, and so we're so excited not only for the streamer device to get into people's hands and play with it, but also for all the updates to Google TV and the Google TV platform and all the great software updates you guys have been doing. Thank you so much for everything that you've done and for giving us some time today.
Yeah,
thank you, Ron, Jason, and Mishaal. Very nice to meet you.
And watch more TV.
And watch more TV.
Really, that should just be their slogan from now on. Watch more TV.
It's pretty simple. I mean, Google will give that to you for free. Google TV. Watch more TV. Like,
watch
there you
more.
go.
Watch more. Google TV.
And it's funny because we're also live streaming, as we always do, every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and there's some chatter in the chat room as you all are watching the interview. And that last bit about the fast channel, some folks like Frank in the live chat said that I avoid ads every chance I get. I'm ad free all the way, and I am too for the better part. Like, I like the fact that we have these streaming apps and I live a life without watching ads and that sort of thing. But at the same time, a lot of people can't afford that luxury. It's a luxury, to be honest, and totally. The cost of ad-free Hulu or ad-free Disney Plus or ad-free Max and Paramount Plus, it adds up. And also there's some great content on those fast channels, Google TV's fast channels, as well as Pluto and Tubi and stuff like that. That's only on those places. Like the fact that I can turn on Pluto TV and watch 70s game shows at any given time, I'm happy to watch a detergent commercial every once in a while or whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
I totally agree.
It's cool. It's cool to see Google embracing that, and so I really like everything they're doing on the Google TV side. I'm excited for the streamer. We're gonna be back next week with our review of the Google TV streamer, both you and I, Jason.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. And huge thanks to Google and to Shalini and everybody else that helped make that interview happen. We're really excited. So. Yep.
Yeah, and what a supersized episode. We had a lot going on in this episode.
Yeah, this is a lot of.
Yeah. I'm grateful for all of it because we worked with a lot of people in the different facets of this episode to make it happen. So
right. And so now we have another 30-minute video that's it's a documentary behind the scenes. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. No, it's actually the first part, but it's the director's commentary.
Right,
so
exactly.
We're going to tell you exactly what was going through our mind throughout every news story.
No. I think we should wrap this up, Jason.
All right, let's be done. Ron, what do you want to plug? What do you want people to do?
Well, I just want to thank you, Jason, and Huyen and Mishaal and everybody at Droidcon last week and Verimatrix, our sponsor, and all the great folks that put together that were able to give us such a great time at Droidcon. Hope you enjoyed this episode. As we mentioned earlier, we're going to have more interviews rolling out over the next upcoming week, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to hear more from me, you head over to ifanboy.com where we just released our monthly Media Splode podcast where me and my buddies Josh and Connor are talking about movies and TV, specifically the new Beetlejuice movie and the 2024 Emmys, our reaction to the Emmy Awards, and an in-depth review of Beetlejuice. So if that's your thing, go check it out at ifanboy.com and stick around for the comics talk every week. So
love it. Yeah. Love it. Thank you, Ron. Also, by the way, I mentioned it earlier, but if you go to the Tech Sploder YouTube channel, just do a search for Tech Sploder. You can find my little short, my little quick hit of unboxing the Google TV streamer in the hotel room. I wanted to set it up in the hotel room when we were in New York, but
you said that, and I was like, I feel like you don't know how complicated hotel networks are.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And this one, I could not get it working, so I had to wait until we got home to set it up. But now I have it all set up, and it's downstairs, and everybody's loving it. So
it's very cool. I will say that the device itself was smaller than I thought it would be.
Yeah. So it's small and it's slippery.
Yes, it is. Very slippery. So, cool. All right.
But anyways, thank you so much for watching and listening each and every week. We do this podcast, as Ron said, every Tuesday evening. If you go to androidfaithful.com, that is
our
just
website.
One fantastic place on the web where you can find all you need to know about everything that we're doing. The podcast episodes are there. You can see Mishaal and Ron is very active in publishing articles about the news and stuff that's happening. You can get to our merchandise if you want to buy a shirt. This is what I love about this brand, man, the Android Faithful brand. Yes, it's the name of the show and the podcast, and so you're kind of supporting the podcast. It's also a statement about you. It says you are the Android Faithful, and at the heart of all things podcast is the community. You are the best community in the world. We could not do this without you. So thank you for your support there.
And I will say, if you go to androidfaithful.com, we just added this week, if you scroll down a little, you can see all of our social links
where's
back
that?
towards the top of the
right
page
there.
here. Yeah, so if you're curious as to where to find us, either on
Holy
podcast
moly.
or on social, all the icons of all the places are there, so you
That's
can go
great.
find us.
You can sign up for a newsletter. If you want to support financially, you can. There's a way to do that. You can also, of course, do that through the Patreon. Both give you the same level of kind of goodies and access and all that kind of
We
stuff.
got you covered. So.
We got you covered, but we appreciate any way you want to support us. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for all of your support over the years in the previous show and the past year in Android Faithful. Next week, I imagine Mishaal and Huyen will be joining us once again, so we will be reunited. It will feel so good. We'll see you next time on another episode of Android Faithful. Podcast dancing and scene.
Fantastic. Well done, my friends. All right, we did it.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. I know it was a little different than usual, but hopefully you enjoyed it. So you got a little taste of everything. So
yeah, it's a little of this and a little of that. All right, we got, let's see here.
Got some show titles. Thank you.
af.showbot.tv.
Thank you for everybody for putting in your show titles.
Yeah, I mean, there's the straight live from Droidcon NYC.
I like global, offer not valid in U.S.
Nice. Circle to search gets wider, a wider circle to search. Windows on Android. Meta wants the kids to be all right. Google TV is now playing ball. Google perfecting passkeys ?
No.
Now, growing notifications, quick settings schism. Samsung 6 years of mid-range updates. One app to rule all the Windows. Android Faithful X Star Wars. Nothing's Star Trekky earbuds. They are kind of Star Trekky, I guess. Android TV dog fooding.
I feel like we got to go Google TV in some case because we have the interview and all that sort of stuff. And
go straight a little bit.
So I would either alter Android TV dog fooding, the last one, to Google TV dog fooding, or Google TV is now playing ball. So,
yeah, I mean it's either Google TV or it is Droidcon, considering we were doing the podcast.
Yeah, but the podcast wasn't about Droidcon, right? We just did it from there.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
Yeah.
As long as the description says something about.
Yeah. Recorded at Droidcon NYC. That's fine. That sort of thing. So.
Cool. So yeah, Google TV dog fooding or Google TV streamer dog fooding. No, that sounds a little weird.
Yeah.
Dog fooding the Google TV streamer. No, I guess it was kind of more about Google TV.
Yeah.
The software. So yeah.
Google TV dog fooding.
Yeah, or dog fooding Google TV. Yeah. Either of those. Sure.
All right.
That works for me.
That works for me
Let's
too.
just do Google TV dog fooding. Dog fooding.
Dog fooding.
Dog fooding.
Cool.
All right.
So we should be back to normal next week. I believe we'll be full crew complement next week. I think Mishaal will be back from his trip, and Huyen, who was in on the chat earlier. I don't know if you saw her, Jason, but
I saw her very briefly.
Hopefully Huyen's back home as well, and we'll all be together again.
Yes, Clinton, what really is normal? That's a good question. Are we ever normal?
That's a great question.
It's a good point. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and participating and listening, however you chose to enjoy the show this evening. And thank you for your support. Love them stickers. We were throwing them around left, right, and center at Droidcon.
Hopefully people got them who like them and put them stuck them on things. So.
Oh, well, this thing. Yeah. I don't know what that is. We got a shout out in Huyen's talk. That was cool.
We did. That was cool.
Big
Yep.
screen.
Yeah.
And I realized that she took, of course, she took the thumbnail from the latest episode where I'm doing something real stupid. I'm like,
yeah. You like to make your faces. You like to do your mugging.
Yeah, it's a thing for me, I guess. All right, everybody, we're gonna wrap this up.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you back next Tuesday.
Bye.